Hello out there. I'm Chris Bisha, editor-in-chief of 360degreesound.com. We're once again covering South by Southwest in Austin in 2025, and I'd like to welcome Swiss-Quebec, I knew I was going to mess that up, Swiss-Quebecois singer-songwriter Alicia Clara into our South by Southwest Artist Spotlight. Thanks for joining me, Alicia,
Thanks for having me.
and happy birthday. It's your birthday
Oh
around now,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, on Sunday.
Okay. Well, great. Yeah, I saw that on your Instagram. So,
Yes. I have mentioned that in the past that South by is usually like a few days after my birthday.
uh, the Pisces season, right?
Yes, yes.
Well, Alicia's based in Montreal, where she creates a sophisticated brand of pop music. Her sound is atmospheric and dynamic, and her ethereal vocal style has been compared to the likes of Hope Sandoval and Jessica Pratt. She's released two EPs, Outsider, Unusual, and Velveteen, and she has a new single, Nothing Dazzled, that's just been released. Alicia has received acclaim from the CBC, among others, and includes performing at the Montreux Jazz Festival amongst her credits. In addition to her appearance at South by Southwest, she'll support Thundercat at the Festival d'été de Quebec in July on a bill with Avril Lavigne. So I saw on your Instagram post that um, you point out that you'll be appearing on that bill with another artist named Alicia Cara.
Alessia, yes.
Alessia, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
funny. I saw her on the Today Show not too long ago, and I was like, oh, she has a really good voice, and so I was looking at the South by lineup, and oh, maybe she'll be there. So I searched her name, and didn't remember it exactly, but I saw your name came up, and oh, great! I clicked that. I was like, wait a minute, that's not the
Yeah.
person I saw on TV. So there's many ways to discover new artists, is I guess the upshot there.
Yeah, yeah. I do. Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes my manager will like talk about me to some industry person and they'll be like, "Oh wow, Alicia Cara, that's crazy. She's so famous." And she's like, "No, it's not her. It's the other one."
Well, that's great. I mean, I love your stuff, and she's great,
Thanks.
but I like you way better. So I'm really
Oh,
glad
thank you.
that I discovered you. Um, so you've accomplished a lot in a short amount of time. I mean, tell me about your experience performing at Montreux. I mean, South by is great, but Montreux is like a whole nother level.
Yeah, Montreal was crazy because I grew up in Geneva, which is like not too far from Montreux, and I basically got my manager to email the booker there like kind of randomly, and I was really expecting to be ghosted, but she was like, "Yeah, we're down." They have like stages that they put on free shows outside of because the Montreux Jazz Festival is all like in big venues and you have to pay for like each individual show. It's not like a day pass type thing. But they do have free stages by the water, which is super dreamy and idyllic. So that's where I performed. And because it's pretty expensive to fly out a band, I performed on my own, which is not my favorite way of performing. So I was a bit stressed and felt like I definitely want to go back one day with my band. But it was, it was just crazy to be able to play on these stages that, I used to go to the Montreux Jazz Festival as a teenager. So it's always kind of crazy to I have like vivid memories of being in the audience and thinking one day I want to do that. And then to actually do it was pretty wild. It's a great opportunity for like all my friends and family to be there as well. So
That's great. Yeah, I've been to Montreux, but I've never been to the festival. I did some business with a
yeah,
Swiss company, and it's just
yeah,
a gorgeous setting.
I
And
know.
and of course, I love the Freddie Mercury statue.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Gotta. Yeah.
Yeah. So I noticed in your Instagram that you've also been to Tokyo. Did you perform there as well?
No, my partner is half Japanese. His mom lives in Tokyo, so I was visiting for the first time, which was great. I definitely do want to perform in Japan one day.
Yeah, I spent like a hot second in Tokyo, and I was just fascinated by it. I'd love to go back when I have a little bit
Yeah.
more, you know,
Yes,
money to throw around. It's pretty expensive.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sticking on the Instagram thing here,
Yep.
and you appear to have some really cool guitars. I saw you with like a cream telly Fender
Mm-hmm.
Telecaster, and then I saw
Yeah.
you with a powder blue Fender Mustang, I think, which is like my
Oh
favorite
yeah.
guitar. Are you a collector?
No, so the Telecaster is my very first electric guitar, which I bought like 5 years ago. It's a Squire that I mean it's a fine guitar, but it's not the best that I've ever played, but it was perfect to start on, and I basically keep it as like I'll bring it with me to South by to have because I have one song in my set that's an alternate tuning. I don't want to be like tuning down on stage, so I'll just bring that one over pre-tuned. Otherwise, the blue Mustang was it, I don't know who it belongs to. It was in the studio that I was recording at, so I just like took it out for I wasn't even recording. I think I was rehearsing. I did have a like Fire Mist Gold Mustang that I just sold in January to buy a Strat, a Squire Strat from the 80s made in Japan, which my bassist slash friend found and he was like, if you want it, like it's yours. And it sounds phenomenal. I've only played it once live so far, but I'm bringing it to South by and I'm excited to try it.
Cool. Yeah, I my first guitar was a Mustang, and I still
Nice.
have it, and I cherish it.
Yeah.
It's
I
pretty
do love
beat
the
up.
Mustang. Yeah. I just don't I feel like the sound is not exactly what I'm looking for like my limitations because I don't really consider myself a guitarist. I'm a singer first and foremost. I do need the guitar to write the songs and to play them live, but it's not like the centerpiece of my performance. So I just need something that sounds kind of good for like simple playing, basically.
Yeah. It's nice to have something to kind of stand behind as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I keep thinking about this. I was thinking about the big show that I have coming up in July, and I was like, oh, I need to find like a really good outfit. And then I was like, yeah, but the guitar is gonna hide like half the outfit, so that makes my task a little bit easier.
Accessorizing, right?
Yeah.
Well, I also read that you started your music career during the pandemic.
Yep.
How did that extraordinary time shape your artistry?
It was very frustrating at first, but then I think I kind of like took it as an opportunity to work on my craft a bit more than I would have if there hadn't been a pandemic. And also, I think it created this like sense of urgency within me that I, again, probably wouldn't have had without a pandemic. And I really, really wanted to make this happen. And there was a time for like a year where I wasn't even sure if live shows were ever going to be a thing again, because in Quebec we had pretty strict um, measures, especially within the cultural sector. Uh, they were pretty frustrating. Most venues were not able to operate. Meanwhile, they did allow like big stadiums to hold shows for like Coldplay and the likes, masked up, but still like the smaller venues were not even allowed to like have a single show. So we were like, clearly you're favoring money over art, which was extremely frustrating.
Yeah, that was so true.
Um, yeah, so but I think this definitely gave me an urge to to do things, which maybe has left me a little bit now that not left me, but I just feel a bit, I'm writing my next album already, but I feel like I'm taking my time a little bit more. So, yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and you do refer to your sad little songs. So let's talk about a couple of your sad little songs. I really like Stones Like Eyes.
Hmm.
It's a great track. It's super groovy. Can you tell me a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so that's one of the first ones that I made. I basically at some point in like 2019, I was like, I want to be a musician, and I've been writing songs for like 15 years, but I didn't really have any good ones. And that's one of the first ones that I wrote at that point. And I made a demo all by myself. And then like a year later or so, I took it to my current bassist, who I made my first two EPs with. He was a producer and he uh, created that bass line, which is, super groovy.
Yeah, I love it.
And yeah, and the band that I was playing with at the time, all participated in creating the arrangements. So yeah, I think that one with that one we were like, we're just gonna have fun basically, and it clearly transpired. So It's funny. It's the one, I think the one track that people typically like tell me they like.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's on Outside or Unusual, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So another tune from that is Haze Maze. That's on Outside or Unusual, right? And
Yep.
that is just fun as hell, man. I put that on repeat a little bit when I was listening to your stuff.
Thanks.
It's just got that a straight ahead pop vibe. It's got this kind of 50s sort of feel. And I love the little waltz interlude in there, like in
Hmm.
the bridge. So tell me a little bit about Haze Maze.
Yeah, that one. Damn, these songs, yeah, start feeling old. Um, but I think that one I just wrote the lyrics when I was like walking home from work in 2020 and in the summer, and I was like really craving a sort of park hang thing, getting drunk with a crush, blah blah blah. And I had only moved to Montreal the year before, so I didn't really have that many friends. And because of the pandemic, like these things were just not really happening. So anyway, I wrote those lyrics kind of daydreaming about that. And then again, the song I think came together. I mean, like I wrote it on guitar, but the arrangements came together in the rehearsal space with my band. Like we just had, I think I don't remember how that came to be, but I think someone at the beginning was like, "Oh, it'd be cool if we'd like went this kind of vibe, kind of 60s pop," and then we just like kept with it basically. But yeah, it's I haven't listened to these tracks in so long. I kind of don't like my voice on these anymore because I feel like I've grown. I've like my voice is a bit different nowadays. So sometimes if I listen back, I'm like, "Hmm, maybe one day I'll do a new version." I don't know.
Yeah. Because those are the older tunes, right? From like 2021. So
Yeah,
they've been around for a while.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you not play them anymore?
Not really.
Okay.
I feel it's not that I don't want to. It's more that I never really have to play a set longer than like 45 minutes, and I feel like I
Okay.
have enough new material that is more present in my head. I
Hmm.
have a whole LP recorded. It's not coming out until later this year, but it's mostly these tracks that I'm focusing on. And personally, I prefer these tracks. I don't know, maybe it's pure, personal preference, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a new track, Nothing Dazzled. So it's a bit of a style departure for you. I mean, your signature ethereal vocal style is there, but it's more dense. It kind of rocks a little harder than some of the other stuff. So tell me about working with producer Chris Stewart, and how you guys put that track together.
Yeah, so we met the summer 2021. We were both recording out of the same studio. He has his band Body Wash that he's one half of, other half is Rosie. And I had been a fan for a while, and basically the studio owners were revamping their website and they hired a photographer to take photos of like models for the website. And they asked Chris and I. We had played actually my Outside Unusual release show together, but it was during the live stream era. So we basically recorded the shows from a venue, but like they went in the morning, I went in the afternoon. We weren't allowed to cross over because of restrictions.
Okay, right.
So we knew each other in that capacity, but had never met in person. But anyway, and then the photographer was like, "Oh, just like pretend to be playing music for the photos." And then Chris was like, "Well, why don't we just actually play music?" And so I can't really follow jams. I'm not like I really just know what I already know type thing. So I was like, "Okay, well, let's just play one of my songs then, because I can't really do anything else." And I played him a track off of my upcoming LP, which is not out yet. And he was like, "This is so good, so good." And honestly, I was a little bit starstruck. So we were also having wine during the photo shoot, and when like I got tipsy enough, I kind of like worked up the courage and I was like, "Hey, do you want to like work on my stuff in the future?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure. Like I think, that song is so great." And so we started like jamming kind of just for fun at that point. We would meet up at the studio and jam. And then about a year later, I wanted to record demos to apply for grants because in Canada we have a really good grant system. So yeah, we just have like exactly the same taste. I feel like everything we did when we jammed just like matched so well that I was like, do you want to help me with these songs? And he did. And so the first one that we did was Nothing Dazzled. So we recorded all the guitars in October 2022. And then later on, when I did get the grant money, we recorded the drums and the bass in in a bigger studio. And I redid the vocals last year. And now it's out. And that song I wrote 4 years ago. So
Oh, yeah.
bit of a long process. Yeah.
Mhm. Sometimes it bees that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a departure, but I think I wanted that departure too, which is also why I asked Chris to work with me because I did really like, especially Body Wash's last album, which came out 2 years ago. I had heard the demos and or the mixes, and I was like, I want this. So
Mhm. Cool. Yeah, it sounds great. And I love that you're still, you know, have a recognizable sound from
mhm.
your earlier stuff. I love that you're kind of melding some new musical direction, with that vocal style because it's so lovely. Um,
Thank you.
but there was a quote on your Instagram from a book by Eve Babbitt. Is the book called "In
Mhm.
the Dead of the Curfew"? Is that the name of the book?
No, no, the book is called Eve's Hollywood. It's her memoir.
Ah,
Um, yeah, just about like
okay.
her childhood, adolescence, and I think early 20s growing up in Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Because the line that you highlight in that is that in that stock summer from which nothing dazzled. Um,
hmm
so I'm not familiar with that book, but it sounds really interesting. What was the inspiration that from that phrase for you?
I think like that chapter, she's like talking about this duo of musicians that were kind of like hot guys that just like suddenly stumbled on the scene in Hollywood and everyone like all the girls were into them and they were like, yeah, we're gonna make an album and then they just never make the album and I thought that was funny. And she just mentioned that Stock Summer from which nothing dazzled because I think I might even be misunderstanding or misremembering, but she was bored during that time. And I was reading this one 2021 when we still had a curfew in Quebec, and like the curfew only stopped at the end of May 2021, which is crazy because like we spent the better part of the spring having to be home by 9 p.m., which was insane. But and yeah, I think I just like really resonated with the fact that nothing was dazzling in my life. And very often I just kind of like the way something sounds, even if it doesn't necessarily mean something particular, but I do like I'll think of a phrase or whatever and like write it down and kind of then insert it in a song. So that's kind of what I did. But I also thought it was really funny that mention about those musicians were
Yeah.
just kind of pretend artists, because I guess I felt a little bit that way too.
Yeah, little imposter syndrome. Never hurt anybody, right?
Nah.
Um, so South by Southwest, tell me a little bit about your instrumentation and what can we expect from you at the festival?
I'm coming with my band, so guitarist, which is actually Chris Stewart, and then my bassist Michael, my drummer Mitch, who also has a project of his own, Mitch Davis, and he also tours with Tops. So they're like, really seasoned musicians, all of them. And yeah, so just a four-piece, very guitar forward. We're not bringing a synth. But I do have a few like calmer songs of the upcoming LP that I'm going to be playing. So it's not going to be all noise, but yeah.
But it sounds like you're going to be trotting out the new stuff from the upcoming
Yes.
record.
I mean, I've been playing these tracks for like 2 years already.
Okay.
It's just that they're not like online, but
hmm
all of my shows have been these songs.
hmm Great. Well, I think you'll also be appearing at Terry Black's, at
Oh
least for
yeah.
lunch.
I definitely will be.
Yeah, your photo on yours made my stomach rumble. I was like, ooh,
Mine too.
yum.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I try
Very
every year to
excited.
find some new, awesome barbecue, but Terry Black's is always solid and
Yeah.
always right there, walking distance, which is nice.
That yeah, that's what I heard. I heard it's the best one. That's the only one I've tried, but I'm very okay with going back. So
No, it's delicious. Um, so I know you're busy making preparations to travel to the States. Are you sure you want to do this? Travel to the States? In case you didn't know, we got a little bit of a dumpster fire going on the other side of your border here.
listen, we're aware because today the tariffs have come into I don't know how to say this, but we are being taxed, or the Canadian products are being taxed 25% starting today. So yeah, I mean, it's weirdly always stressful to like go through border in the States. Like even if you're not doing anything wrong, they just like a lot of the agents will be like, well, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, like and I guess the stress might be heightened in these days. I did cross the border when Trump was in office between 2016 and 2020, and it was fine, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I haven't been to the States since October, so
Yeah. Well, I'll be looking forward to seeing you. It'll be fine.
I'm sure it will be, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So she's Alicia Clara. Check out her new single, Nothing Dazzled, on Spotify and Bandcamp and wherever you find your favorite music. And she'll be performing at South by Southwest next week at Swan Dive on Thursday, March 13th, where I hope,
Also, sorry, this is like
please.
not public yet, but also at Hotel Vegas the Friday at 7 p.m.
Oh, cool. I'm gonna make a note of that.
The Space Agency Showcase.
Okay. And I think the Swan Dive is the Women in Music Canada showcase, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, we'll be looking for it, and I hope that you open with "O Canada" sung in French.
Probably won't, but maybe I'll learn it.
I'll cheer it if you
No
do.
way. Right.
All right, and I'm Chris Bishop of 360 Degree Sound. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for listening to music from all angles. Thanks a lot, Alicia.
Thanks for having me.